What if everything you thought was just NFL drama was actually the beginning of a league-wide reckoning? What if one coach's decisions didn't just impact a rookie season, but followed him across cities, into locker rooms, and into the future of multiple franchises? Because what's unfolding around Shador Sanders and Kevin Stefanski isn't just noise. It's a story about reputation, power, pride, and what happens when talent refuses to be buried. When Kevin Stefanski stepped into his new opportunity with the Atlanta Falcons, many believed he was getting a fresh start, a reset, a clean slate. But the NFL doesn't operate like that. This league has a long memory. Players talk, agents talk, executives talk, and most importantly, players never forget how someone made them feel. Especially when it comes to the development, or destruction, of a young quarterback. During interviews, Stefanski attempted to present himself as calm, professional, and above the controversy. He claimed he had no ill will toward anyone in the building. He spoke about loving the development of young players. He avoided specifics. He deflected. He carefully chose words that sounded diplomatic. But to many watching, it felt rehearsed. It felt like damage control. Because the questions weren't coming from nowhere. They were coming from what people believed they saw happen to Shador Sanders in Cleveland. Across sports media, from outlets like the New York Post, ABC News, NBC, and ESPN, conversations swirled about how Shador's rookie season was handled. Social media amplified every questionable decision, every confusing play call, every moment where it appeared the young quarterback wasn't being put in the best position to succeed. Whether intentional or not, the perception grew that Shador wasn't being fully supported. And perception in the NFL can be just as powerful as reality. Now fast forward to Atlanta. Stefanski arrives expecting authority and buy-in. Instead there are whispers, concerns, tension. Reports suggesting that some Falcons players are uneasy, that the locker room energy feels uncertain, that trust has not been automatically granted. For a head coach, trust is currency. And if players believe a coach mishandled a rising talent before, they're going to question everything. Names like Kyle Pitts have been mentioned in speculation about the team's direction. While nothing concrete has unfolded publicly, the mere existence of these rumors speaks volumes. In professional football, stability matters. Players want leadership they believe in. They want to know that if they perform, they will be supported, not undermined. What made the Cleveland situation so explosive wasn't just wins and losses. It was visibility. Millions watched Shador Sanders step onto NFL fields with confidence, poise, and flashes of brilliance. He showed arm talent, leadership, clutch composure. He didn't crumble under pressure. He didn't lash out publicly. He didn't point fingers. He simply played. And that's what made the narrative so powerful. When a rookie faces adversity and responds with production, it resonates across the league. Teammates notice. Opponents notice. Analysts notice. And if they believe that player wasn't given a fair runway, sympathy quickly turns into loyalty. Shador wasn't just another prospect. He entered the league with a spotlight already attached to his name. A football legacy behind him. A massive fan base. Expectations from day one. That level of attention magnifies everything, good and bad. So when conversations emerged suggesting he wasn't being fully embraced within the system, it became national dialogue. Meanwhile, Stefanski's public comments remained measured. He insisted decisions were about football, about development, about competition. But critics argued that development requires consistency and confidence, not constant uncertainty. They questioned why a quarterback showing promise seemed to face uphill battles internally. Now in Atlanta, that history hasn't vanished. It trails him like a shadow. Adding fuel to speculation are former Cleveland connections. When players like David Njoku announced moves away from the Browns, fans immediately began connecting dots. Would Stefanski attempt to bring familiar faces to Atlanta? Would those players even want to follow? While much of this remains rumor, the broader theme is clear. Reputation travels. Inside NFL circles, credibility is everything. If players believe a coach prioritizes ego over growth, that perception spreads rapidly. Free agents consider it. Draft prospects research it. Veterans weigh it before signing contracts. One season can echo for years. What makes this saga even more compelling is how Shador responded. He didn't engage in public feuds. He didn't blast the organization. He didn't wage a media war. Instead, he let performance speak. Big throws. Critical drives. Resilience under scrutiny. He positioned himself not as a victim, but as proof that talent and discipline can survive turbulence. That contrast, between perceived obstruction and visible growth, shifted the conversation. Instead of questioning whether Shador belonged, many began questioning whether he had been held back. Cleveland now faces its own crossroads. Reports suggest quarterback competition conversations, potential draft considerations, even outside names being floated. When a franchise hesitates despite visible production, it creates confusion. Was the system the issue? Was leadership divided? Did internal politics interfere with development? These are the kinds of questions that don't disappear easily. Across the league, executives observe patterns. Coaches evaluate how peers handle adversity. When a young quarterback thrives despite instability, it elevates his reputation exponentially. Shador's ability to maintain composure strengthened his standing. What was meant to test him may have ultimately empowered him. Atlanta, on the other hand, must now manage perception carefully. A new head coach needs unity, clear direction, confidence from veterans. If even a fraction of the locker room doubts leadership, cracks form quickly. And in the NFL, cracks widen fast under pressure. This entire situation underscores a larger truth about professional sports. Talent cannot be permanently suppressed. Systems can slow it. Politics can complicate it. But elite ability paired with relentless work ethic surfaces eventually. Shador Sanders represents that principle. Every milestone he reaches reinforces the narrative that he earned everything the hard way. Every successful performance reframes prior controversy. And with each snap, the league watches closely, not just his growth but the consequences facing those who doubted him. Stefanski, meanwhile, faces the difficult task of rewriting perception. Winning cures many problems in football. If Atlanta thrives under his leadership, critics quiet down. But if turbulence continues, past decisions will resurface louder than ever. The NFL is unforgiving when it comes to optics. A coach accused, fairly or unfairly, of mishandling a rising quarterback must now operate under intense scrutiny. Every substitution, every press conference answer, every quarterback decision will be dissected. And that's the ripple effect of Cleveland. For Shador, the story has transformed from controversy to validation. What was framed by some as conflict has evolved into proof of resilience. He endured. He improved. He commanded respect without demanding it. That is why his name carries weight right now. This isn't just about one franchise or one coach. It's about accountability in a league where careers hinge on trust. It's about how quickly narratives shift when performance contradicts politics. And it's about a young quarterback who refused to let circumstances define him. As the season unfolds, Atlanta's stability will be tested. Cleveland's quarterback decisions will be analyzed relentlessly. And Shador Sanders will continue doing the one thing that silences doubt, producing on the field. The NFL is watching. Fans are watching. Players are watching. And whether this saga ends in redemption or regret, one thing is certain. Attempts to suppress real talent rarely age well. If you're following this unfolding drama and want deeper breakdowns on every twist, every roster move, and every quarterback battle, make sure you stay locked in. The next chapter is coming, and in the NFL, momentum shifts fast. And just when it seemed like the tension might cool down, the situation took another unexpected turn. Because now, this isn't only about what happened in Cleveland or what might happen in Atlanta. It's about how the rest of the league is reacting in real time. Front offices are studying the situation carefully. Veteran players are quietly having conversations behind closed doors. Agents are advising their clients to pay attention. When a young quarterback like Shador Sanders survives controversy and still elevates his game, it sends a message far beyond one franchise. The next chapter is about leverage. Shador is no longer viewed as just a promising rookie who needed guidance. He's now seen as battle-tested. He endured internal friction, constant scrutiny, and non-stop media narratives, and still delivered. That changes how teams value him. That changes how teammates rally around him. That changes how fans perceive leadership inside an organization. Meanwhile, Kevin Stefanski faces a different kind of pressure in Atlanta. It's not just about installing an offense or managing the locker room. It's about rebuilding trust. And trust in the NFL is fragile. If early losses pile up, critics will immediately point to history. If there are quarterback controversies, people will connect dots. Every move he makes will be interpreted through the lens of what many believe happened in Cleveland. That's the cost of perception. And here's where it gets even more intense. Cleveland's quarterback room is becoming a headline factory. Reports of potential competition, rumors of new additions, speculation about bringing in veterans. Instead of fully committing to Shador and building around him, the organization appears hesitant. That hesitation fuels the narrative that they still don't fully recognize what they have. But players inside locker rooms notice that too. When a quarterback performs under pressure and doesn't receive clear backing from management, it creates division. Teammates want stability. They want clarity. They want to know who their leader is. And every time Cleveland flirts with outside options, it unintentionally strengthens Shadeur's position in the eyes of fans and analysts who believe he already proved himself. Across the league, young quarterbacks are watching closely. They're seeing how quickly narratives can shift. They're seeing how important internal support is. And they're learning that sometimes the biggest statement isn't made in interviews, it's made between the white lines. Shadeur's silence throughout the storm has become one of his strongest assets. No public feuds. No emotional press conferences. No cryptic social media battles. Just preparation, performance, and poise. That maturity is rare for a young quarterback under that level of spotlight. And that maturity is reshaping his brand. What began as controversy has evolved into credibility. What was framed by critics as instability has turned into proof of resilience. Sponsors notice that. Executives notice that. Teammates feel that. As Atlanta prepares for its upcoming season, there's an undeniable undercurrent of uncertainty. Can Stefanski command full belief? Can he unify the locker room? Can he separate his new chapter from the shadow of the old one? Winning would quiet most of it. But early struggles would amplify everything. Cleveland, on the other hand, stands at a crossroads. Fully commit and build around the quarterback who weathered the storm, or continue creating competition that may undermine long-term stability. Either choice will define the franchise's trajectory for years. And then there's the larger league narrative. The NFL thrives on storylines. Redemption arcs. Downfalls. Comebacks. Power shifts. Right now, Shador Sanders is at the center of one of the most compelling arcs in football. Not because of trash talk. Not because of controversy he created. But because he survived controversy that surrounded him, and elevated anyway. That's powerful. The next phase will be about results. If Shador continues trending upward, the story becomes undeniable. If Atlanta stumbles, Stefanski's critics grow louder. If Cleveland hesitates too long, they risk alienating a quarterback who already proved he can thrive under adversity. Momentum in the NFL changes quickly. One season can redefine legacies. One decision can alter reputations permanently. But here's the truth that's becoming impossible to ignore. Adversity introduced Shador to the league. Performance is cementing his place in it. And the storm that once threatened to derail him may ultimately become the reason he commands even more respect moving forward. The next games won't just be about stats. They'll be about validation. About leadership. About which organization truly understands the value of belief. Because in the NFL, talent may open doors, but resilience builds dynasties. In this story, it's far from over. Now the pressure reaches a completely different level, because this is where narratives turn into consequences. The league is entering a phase where results will either silence everything or amplify it beyond control. For Shador Sanders, this next stretch isn't just about wins and losses. It's about solidifying authority. It's about proving that what he showed wasn't a flash, it was foundation. Every snap now carries added weight, not because of doubt, but because expectations have shifted. He's no longer viewed as the rookie fighting uphill. He's viewed as the quarterback who survived internal chaos and still stood tall. And that changes everything. Inside Cleveland, the front office has to make a defining choice. Do they fully embrace Shador as the face of the franchise? Or do they continue entertaining outside options, creating quarterback competitions, and feeding uncertainty? Because here's the reality, hesitation at the top trickles down fast. Offensive linemen want stability. Receivers want timing and chemistry. Coaches want clarity. When the quarterback position feels unsettled, the entire team feels it. If Cleveland continues to flirt with names like Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Malik Willis, or other potential additions, it sends a subtle but powerful message. We're not fully convinced. And that's dangerous. Because when a quarterback has already demonstrated resilience, leadership, and production under pressure, the locker room begins to form its own opinions. Players rally behind consistency. They respect someone who took hits, both physical and political, and kept delivering. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Kevin Stefanski is stepping into one of the toughest environments for a coach trying to rebrand his image. The Falcons aren't just evaluating his schemes. They're evaluating his character. Veterans in that building are asking themselves one simple question. If things get tough, will he support us, or protect himself? That question lingers longer than any press conference answer. If early struggles hit Atlanta, critics won't wait. They'll connect it straight back to Cleveland. If there's quarterback controversy, it will feel like déjà vu. And if key players start voicing subtle frustration, the narrative explodes again. But here's what makes this chapter even more powerful. Shador doesn't have to say a word. His growth is speaking for him. Every off-season workout video, every leadership moment captured by teammates, every interview where he stays composed and focused on football. It all reinforces one message: he's built differently. And the NFL respects that. Because this league tests everyone. It tests your talent. It tests your patience. It tests your ego. Some crack under spotlight pressure. Some disappear when systems don't favor them. But when someone thrives despite internal obstacles, it builds a different type of credibility. Shador is entering that territory now. What once looked like sabotage is starting to look like fuel. What once looked like instability is starting to look like preparation for bigger stages. The adversity didn't weaken him, it sharpened him. Now imagine this scenario. Shador continues ascending. Cleveland finally commits. The team rallies fully behind him. The offense stabilizes. Wins start stacking. What does that do to the narrative about how he was handled early on? Flips everything. Because success exposes miscalculations. And if Atlanta struggles under Stefanski, the contrast becomes even more glaring. One quarterback rising. One coach battling perception. The optics become impossible to ignore. This is the moment where legacies quietly start forming. Not through headlines. Not through arguments. But through sustained performance. Shador's story is shifting from controversy to inevitability. The more he proves himself, the more it looks like nothing. No politics, no ego, no internal tension could stop what was always meant to surface. And that's why the entire league is paying attention. General managers are learning from it. Young quarterbacks are studying it. Coaches are being reminded that development requires belief, not control. The ripple effect goes beyond one franchise. Because when a generational talent emerges through resistance, it sends a warning to everyone else. If you mishandle greatness, it will still find a way, just without you. The next games will be defining. The next decisions will be critical. Cleveland must choose clarity over confusion. Atlanta must choose unity over ego. And Shador must continue choosing consistency over distraction. If he does, this saga won't be remembered as controversy. It will be remembered as the season a star proved he couldn't be buried. And trust this, when talent, discipline, and resilience align, the league doesn't just notice. It adjusts. Stay locked in because the next chapter isn't just about football. It's about who controls the narrative and who becomes the future of the NFL.